Okay, this is the first card that we're going to be making today. This is with Pacific Point cardstock and a little blue gnome. And all 5 cards are going to be Christmas cards. Let's get started. You should have received in your kit a piece of Pacific Point cardstock cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and folded in the middle and scored at 4 1/4. That will be your card base. You also received 2 pieces of white cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4. One will be your outside of your card and one will be to be used on the inside of the card. You also received a strip at a 1/4 inch, different lengths because we only needed to use a part of it. So they're just scraps of paper. And how I got these is really easy. And I have a whole bag full of them because I'm always cutting my cardstock. When you get the cardstock, it's actually 8.5 by 11. When you're cutting the card fronts or the inside backs, or whatever you're going to use these for, you cut it at 4 by 5 1/4. So that actually leaves you this 1/4 inch off the edge. I always save these because I use them a lot for my greetings. You don't have to cut it. It's already cut even. You don't have to worry about that. So that's how I came about with this piece here. Okay, so 2 pieces of white cut at 4 by 5 1/4. The extra 1/4 inch strip. Then we've got another piece of white cardstock that's been cut into a 2 1/4 inch circle. And that's where you're going to actually be stamping your gnome. Okay, we've got 2 pieces of the Storybook Gnome Designer Series paper. There's 12 sheets in that, double-sided. Okay, so this is 2 different of the designs, and we're going to be using one of these snowflakes right here. And let's see, it's kind of shiny on one side. I don't know if you can see that or not in the camera, but then it's white on the back. So if you actually wanted to make them a different color, all you would have to do is just sponge on the ink, the color that you wanted, or color it with your blend pens or your markers, and there you go, any color snowflake you want. I believe these come in a package of 20. Okay, so you're going to receive one of those, and then you're going to receive 2. These were clear rhinestones, and I took my Pacific Point blend and I colored them. So you can do the same with any clear rhinestones and a permanent marker, or the blends, because they're permanent as well. So I colored them to match the paper Pacific Point. Okay, let's get started. Let me get these pieces right here out of the way, and we'll get started. Okay, I have to tell you that I love to use my Stamparatus. It's a tool that makes your life so much easier when you're stamping. Okay, it comes set up like this. You've got 2 plates, actually. One will go there. This one's kind of dirty, so forgive me. And one will go there. And you can actually have 4 images, at least 4 images on here, and be stamping them one after the other without changing. So if you're making multiple cards, then you've got your stamp right where you need it. You just take your paper, you put it in where you want it, and ink up your stamp, flip it over, and stamp. Okay, so that's what I use to stamp the gnome that we're going to be using. I just cut my circle out, which you could also leave it square and cut your circle out later if you want. And let's see, we're going to be using this little gnome here with the light. So what you would do is you would just line it up here on the circle. Forgive my head if it gets in your way. Line it up on the circle. Okay, I'm going to save this because I got it already lined up where I want it. And I'm going to take this one, just move it over here. I'm going to pick up my stamp, press it down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Memento black ink because I'm going to use blends. So I want to use the Memento black ink because these are alcohol markers. If you're going to use just markers, the watercolor markers, then you want to use black StazOn, because if you don't, it will bleed through. Okay, so we're going to take the Memento black ink. We're going to ink up our stamp. And then we're just going to flip this piece over onto the Stamparatus and give it a little push. And one thing I like about this, if you don't get it dark enough the first time, or if you miss some of the ink, or it's not where you want it to be, or whatever, you can actually open it up. You can take your ink again. Okay, it's not quite dark enough, so I'm going to take a little bit more ink. And I'm just going to, it's still in the same place. I'm going to just go down on it like that. Now, I didn't use the magnets, but of course, using the magnets would make more sense. Okay, so then I'm just going to clean my stamp really quick. And I just have an old washcloth with just water and the stamp cleaner on it. And I just clean my stamp like that. I'm going to remove this plate, get it out of the way, and put the other one in that I'm going to use. And I'm going to be stamping the greeting with this one. So I've got my 1/4 inch piece of paper here, and I got to stand up because I can't really see unless I'm up over top of the paper. And I'm going to put it here where I've already lined it up. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's the space. Okay, so I've already lined it up where it should be to get the stamp. I'm going to place the magnet on one end here, and one end here. And be careful with these magnets because they will snap together and break, which you can see I've already done. And they stick really well. Okay, let me move that up just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to be stamping the greeting in Pacific Point. So I got my Pacific Point ink pad here. Okay, I'm just going to put the ink on the stamp. I'm trying not to push down too hard because I don't want ink all over the plate. It's really a great idea if you have the Stampin' Spots, the little squares, to use it for smaller stamps like this. And make sure I don't have anything. There you go. And then you're just going to flip it over into place again, put it down, just give it a little pressure, and there you go, right where you want it. Okay, I want it a little bit darker again, so I'm just going to go over it again with my ink. Still in the same place because I have the magnets holding it down. Give it a little pressure. You actually want to wait, like count to 5. That way it gives the ink time to set into the paper really well. And you get a better image. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this stamp off again. And I'm going to take my greeting out of here. Get the Stamparatus. I tell you, this Stamparatus really makes my life so much easier. I had such a hard time getting stamping straight. I don't know why. I have to get right on top of it practically with a magnifying glass to get it straight every time I stamp. So this Stamparatus really helps me. In fact, I use it for almost everything now, not just greetings, but for almost every stamp I do. Okay, so we're just going to trim the ends here like this, and whoopsie daisies, like this. And you just want to try to get it equal distance apart. And there you go. There's your greeting. Okay. Get the trash out of the way here. Okay, so on the card you can see that the outside layer, the outside white layer, is embossed. Now you can use any embossing folder for this. I have an old Stampin' Up! Snowflake embossing folder that I really like, and so that is what I used. And all you're going to do is, whatever one you're going to use, you're going to take a piece of the 4 by 5 1/4, put it inside here, close it up, and run it through your Stampin' Emboss machine. And then, of course, it's going to come out with a beautiful embossing. Like I said, you don't have to have this one. This is an older, retired one. You can use any type of Christmas background that you want, actually. Okay, so in your kit, this is already embossed for you, in case you don't have one. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our card base and our embossed piece, and we're going to use some multi-purpose liquid glue from Stampin' Up. You can get this other places, but I really like Stampin' Up's prices, so that's the one I use. And you're going to just put some glue on the back. Now, I like this liquid glue because after you get it on and before you put it on when you put it on your card, it's actually still wet enough that you can move it around and get it even on your card front. Like I said, I have trouble getting things straight. So this really helps me. So I'm just going to put it on here. Whoopsie daisy. Put it on my card front, and see, you can actually just move it around a little bit to get it where you want it so that your borders are even and equal. Get over there. Okay. All right, so there we go. Now, I always, whenever I glue anything, I turn my card over and I use my bone folder. And, whoops, got a sticky on there. I use my bone folder to press it down. That spreads the glue all over the card in the back so that the layers really stick good and there's no bumps showing from the glue or anything like that. It just smooths the glue out really well. Okay, so there we go. There's the card front there. So next, what you're going to do is you have these two pieces of the paper. Like I said, the larger piece, oops, let me get out of there. I got a mess on my desk. I'm so messy when I craft. Okay, so we got a larger piece here, and it is at 2 by 4.5 inches, and the smaller piece is 2 by 3.25 inches. Now you could make this one the large piece, this one the small piece, interchange them, whichever you'd like, but this is the pattern that I wanted, so this is what I used here. Okay, so I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to just place it on the strip here, and I don't put a lot on. I just put a strip in about 1/4 inch from the end, because that way when I put it down on my card and use my bone folder, I can spread it out and it won't be all over the card base. I'm going to move it in here probably about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 inch in here from the edge. And I'm just going to line that up there. Okay, and again, I'm going to take my bone folder. Now, I don't want to press too hard because then I'll smash my embossing. So I'm just taking my bone folder, and I really want to get the corners, because when you have the glue around the edge like this, if you put it here to the corner, then it also adheres the corners very well. Okay, then you're going to take your second piece. This is such an easy pattern, and you can use it for so many cards. Just using a different stamp set or different designer series paper, you'll get a totally different look for the card using the same pattern. That's the easy way to make cards. Instead of reinventing the wheel every time, use the patterns that you already like and know. Okay, so again, I'm going to put this in about 3/4 inch over and line it up. I kind of want equal distance from both sides and from the top and bottom. It doesn't matter if you don't get it exactly equal. You just want to kind of get it equal here. So I'm going to take that, spread it out to the corners again. Okay, so now I'm not going to take the time to color my gnome because it takes a few minutes if you want to get it right. Okay, I used Stampin' Blends on mine, and what I used was the Night of Navy, Light and Dark, the Balmy Blue, Light and Dark. I used So Saffron for this little light in here, and I used the Basic Gray for the lantern itself. I did not color the beard. I left the beard where it was. Okay, so these are Stampin' Blends, and I'll have a video later on showing you how to use these, but right now, since there's 5 cards, I don't want to take up that time. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your snowflake. If I can find where it went. There it is. Okay. I want the shiny side up. So all I did was I just put a little glue dot right here in the middle. And I just put it like right up here in the corner. There's no certain space. You could do it on either side. It's just all a matter of what you like. So I glued that down here with a glue dot. Let me get those over here. Okay, and the easiest way to do this for me is to pull it out to where the glue dot actually is, take the snowflake, just press it down on top of it, and it pulls the glue dot right off there. And you really only need one, but you can put more if you like. All right, so I'm going to put that down there and just press it in the middle, and that will hold down good. All right, so next you're going to take your gnome that I did not color, and you're going to put it on your card with Stampin' Dimensionals. I don't know if you can see those in there, but that just raises it up and gives your card more dimension and makes it just really more elegant and pleasant to look at. So I popped it up with pop dots. Then I stamped my greeting, which we've already done, and I just did the same with this. I put that on with pop dots, so let me go ahead and do that. And this is just large enough for the Stampin' Dimensionals, the larger ones. And I just put, you want to make sure you have enough on here, because when you send your card in the mail, you don't want the middle of it to be crushed. And that's what happens a lot of times if you don't get enough dimensionals on there. So I'm going to put 4. Okay, just take these off real quick. Okay, and then all you're going to do is you're going to just line it up here. Let me take that one out of the way. I got 2 of them just in case I messed one up. And I'm going to kind of place it here at the bottom so that it hides the bottom piece of this, and then you still have a border there. I'm going to line it up so that it's even. If you don't press these down, you can also lift it up fairly easy. Okay, now I got it even. Okay, and just give that a press down. And most of the time, it's the same. I use my bone folder all the time. I'll take my bone folder and just give it a good press to make sure that they're stuck really well. Okay, now, I did not show you the inside of the card yet, but this is what we did. Oh wait, I forgot the rhinestones. So you should have received 2 of the rhinestones, and you're going to just place 1 on each corner of the greeting. Okay, now the inside, I took my other piece of 4" by 5 1/4" inch white cardstock. I stamped the same gnome, and I colored them the same way, and I did the same on the envelope because I really like coloring my envelopes. One thing you have to remember, if you're using blends, it will go through your paper, and it's supposed to. So if you're going to color something, now on this piece it was fine because I have on this the blue background. But if I had just stamped on this as if it was a white card base and I just stamped on it, the ink would have showed through on the back. So always remember that. The ink is going to go through whatever you color on. So that being said, on the envelope, I did not want it to go through. So what I did is I just took a scrap piece of paper. Oh, here it is right here. And I just stuck it down into the envelope like this so that it would be right where I was coloring. That way the color did not go through onto my envelope. Okay, and you can see it did. It actually did go through there. So take a piece of scrap paper and put it behind whatever you're coloring so that the ink does not get everything messed up. Okay, so that was easy. There's the card, inside, the envelope, and the outside. Okay, all right, let's put this away and then we'll get busy with the next card.